Okay, now there should be sound. Sorry, I kind of forgot to plug my microphone into the actual computer. So this is well, it's been a while since I've gotten to do a live on Friday, but I did go live on Wednesday, and I remembered that day to plug in my my microphone. Just forgot today. Sorry about that, guys. But here we go. We're back. This is a mega list here at Tulips and Honey. I am Lauren Herford, the host of the Tulips and Honey podcast. I am having a hard time getting comfortable in my little round chair. I haven't been down here in a while, and I kind of like, you know how you get your chair comfy, cozy, and it's got like your butt print in it, and so it's really comfy to you. And I wasn't down here for a while, and now I'm having to like re-comfortize my chair. I just made up those words. That's okay. Anyways, here I am. This is a mega list. I'm glad I finally have sound. I have the comments and everything available here so that I can keep up with what you guys are saying. Hopefully I will be able to keep that rolling. I've got the group open and my actual just Facebook page open so that I can see you guys. Let me know if you guys can still hear me over on Facebook, because I can still see a few people over there saying no sound. Hopefully there's sound now. And I have YouTube open so I can check out the comments there. The only thing where I'm probably not going to see your comments is Twitter and Instagram. So, I'll see your Twitter comments here. If you comment over on Twitter, I'll see you over there. But the Instagram thing is really weird. And not only does it not save my live events over there, but I don't ever get to see the comments unless I'm actually in the app, but not in my own name's app. I have to like log into my husband's name of the app because I can't see myself going. It's weird. You know what? I'm going to work on Instagram. It's a thing that just not something that I am working very well at just yet. But hi everybody over on Facebook. I'm super glad that you guys can hear me and I can see you guys over there. My microphone's kind of low, so there we go. Hopefully it's okay. Ray comfortatize. I almost heard Ray comfortatize. Did y'all ever watch The Comfort Zone whenever that was a show? I loved the On the Box with Ray and all of them, and I loved the Comfort Zone. I was super sad whenever they stopped putting those out because they're a hoot. They're hilarious, and I love getting to watch them. And they have bloopers for these things, which like Ray Comfort on bloopers is just, it's nonstop. Fantastic. Kaylee and I were just watching it the other day together because I had forgotten that was a thing. And then whenever I remembered, I was like, we're going to have to sit and watch all of these blooper reels again because they're awesome. Anyways. Okay. So I think we have like a lot of people here. We can go ahead and get started with what we're going to talk about. I totally did not put the right date on the little image. Did you guys see that? I'm going to click over it real quick so you can see. Look at this. That is the wrong day. It is not the 17th. Okay. It's not. It's the 31st. I titled it correctly on the actual descriptions, but the picture that I created of it is wrong. So, I'm getting there. I'm getting back into the groove of things slowly and painfully because these symptoms are still coming and going, and it's really weird and really obnoxious. But each day I feel a little bit better, and I'm able to stay awake a little bit longer. And there was a little while there where I was like sleeping with the fatigue and everything. I was literally like asleep for 17 to 18 hours at a time. It was crazy. And so thankfully that has gotten much, much more improved. I'm still sleeping a lot more than I usually do. Normally I get like 4 to 5 hours of sleep a night. I don't really, I don't do well with like more than 6 hours of sleep. I get headaches and things like that. And so I'm just one of those weird people that usually doesn't get a whole lot of sleep. And so right now I'm getting so much more sleep than usual that I'm like still behind in all the things that I need to catch up on. So I really appreciate all of y'all's patience and everything. If you've sent me emails or messages or comments or anything like that and I haven't seen them, I am so sorry. We're getting there. I still have like the sniffles, and so the sniffles is happening, and then the fatigue, and then just like, some queasiness and stuff like that. Just little things like that. That's just like a reminder of the battle zone that we have. But anyways, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below about that Ray Comfort thing. Am I the only one that like super duper loved those episodes and misses them? Because I know that he has The Way of the Master, but I feel like it was a lot of fun to get to see him and Emil Zwane and Mark Spence like just going back and forth with each other. It was really fun. I like what they're doing now, don't get me wrong, but I do miss that. I totally miss the Comfort Zone and On the Box, and I'm still having a hard time breathing. I'm sorry, but you know what? Listen, we're getting through this together, guys. Okay, you guys are gonna be forced to be patient with my inability to breathe properly, and I am super thankful for all of you guys being so patient and being so kind. That's actually the first thing on my list here that I wanted to talk to you guys today. So if you don't know, I didn't even stop to explain this. And I know we have some new listeners, especially over on Instagram. So what this is, the mega list is something that we do oh, you watched them all the time? That is so cool. Let me see who that actually said that. Oh, Cindy said that over on Facebook. That is so cool. I'm glad that I'm not the only one. I loved that stuff. I really wish that they would do that again, but I know he's really busy. And I don't know if you guys know this, but he's my best friend. Like, we're best friends. Me and Ray Comfort, we're like BFFs. And so anytime I talk to him, he's like super busy. And that's a joke because you know what? If you've been a fan for long enough, you know why that's a joke. But anyways, Shannon, check it out. You will be so blessed by the Comfort Zone. The Comfort Zone is like the newer version. The On the Box is an older version, and they even have them on podcasts. Like, you can listen to them instead of watch them. I recommend watching them because they're hilarious, and the faces that they make are hilarious. And the greatest thing about this, even though like they're dated, right? So they're older, but the really cool thing about the Comfort Zone and On the Box is that it's like a daily encouragement to evangelize, to share the gospel with somebody. And so it was a time frame in my life, in my walk in Christ, where I was really nervous to share the gospel with anybody. I was really nervous to hand out gospel tracts. It was hard for me at the beginning and of course it's still hard for me, but it not like it was, I'm not like sweating through my clothing just trying to share the gospel now, but getting to watch them each day and hearing their encouragement, hearing their nervousness and the things that they do and the way that they do it, it really helped me get to the point now where I can hand a gospel tract out without having a panic attack. So that might be something really fun for you guys to check out if you're wanting something to watch after you're done here with the not the Comfort Zone. This is the mega list. So if you're watching and you've never seen this, the mega list is a list of things that I bring together to talk to you guys about on Friday. It started out as a blog post and eventually ended up something that I did live each Friday. So that's what this is. Every Friday I'll come to you live here and just recommendations, suggestions, prayer requests, shout outs. This is a great point. If you have a blog, if you have a podcast, if you want me to shout those out, if you have a Christian business, if you're a Christian and you have a business and you want those shouted out, this is a cool place for all of that stuff. And we love it. Oh, look, that's my husband. Do you see him? He's up there. He's in the comments. I love you. He's so stinking sweet. Okay. Sorry. I have to get all mushy gushy on you guys. As Chris would say, mushy gushy. Okay. Anyways, that's what this is. The next thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about, and you saw it on the list. I'm trying to remember on the list how I put them in order. So I may go out of order. Hopefully I don't, but I might go out of order, based on the descriptions. There was a couple of interesting things that have happened recently in the news and in, the YouTubeverse. I just made that up. There you go. And one of them is actually Todd Wright. We're going to take a deep breath. There we go. You are like COVID to me. You take my breath away. Patrick from Cave to the Cross, everybody, right there with the most epic new pickup line. And perfect timing, because I was literally having a moment there where I struggled to take a deep breath. So here you go. That was our very first squirrel. It's a squirrel. It's time for me to yell in your ears and say the word squirrel and then take a drink of my soda without you having to watch me. Okay. All right. And I want to thank Mark for providing that squirrel again. We are super excited to have that squirrel. It's just a wonderful thing. Hi, Emily. I'm so glad to have you in the comments. Yes, Todd White. That's right. Not Todd, whatever I said. Todd White, not right. Yeah, thank you. He recently came out with a sermon. I'm wondering, because I haven't seen anything about it, if whether or not he recognized what he was going to say was going to cause the commotion that it caused. And so a couple of things just before we really get into the meat of what was happening with Todd White that I wanted to mention was the first thing was I was very encouraged by the fact that so many people are on guard about these false teachers. So many people are monitoring the things that are being said. So many people are concerned about Todd White and the things that he has said, that it was almost immediately noticed that he had come out with this sermon that was it's being called him repenting. It was not the actual title of the sermon, and I forget now what the literal title of the sermon was, but it wasn't, the title of the title of his message was not actually that he was repenting, but that's what it's being called now, the Todd White repentance message, which I watched it all the way through, and then I watched some clips of it from other people, and then I watched other people's responses. And there's a few things that I think that we can learn from this and the way that people behaved. And I think that there's a lot of good things that we can take away from the way that people responded. And I know that this has been like the drumbeat of this podcast since the very beginning, that you guys are probably tired of hearing me say this, but we have to behave like Christians online too. Social media is also a place where we need to behave godly and with love and not disrespectful or cruel or just flat out unbiblically unkind and mean to one another. So I wanted to point that out for this one and the John MacArthur thing we're going to talk about next, that I saw some great behavior. I saw some stuff that was very encouraging. And then I saw people who were really just online to bash and to hate and on both sides. It doesn't matter which side you were on, whether or not you said, hey, Todd White, gonna believe that yes, that's right, God's heart for humanity. That is the title. I was blown away by some of the responses on both sides. You saw a lot of vitriol on both sides that I thought was kind of fascinating. It's a shame whenever it comes from our side, whenever we can't just say, hey, you know what? I'm not sure, but I'm going to pray for him. Or if you do believe that he's genuinely saved, those two groups are my concern, right? So I don't expect the group of false converts listening to his message and being offended by it. I don't expect them to behave in a way that believers would behave. So when I was a false convert, if I had heard his message, I was, as Patrick knows very well, I was big into Joyce Meyer. If I had heard a message like his, I would have been like, this is the most hateful thing I've ever heard. And as an unbeliever, I would have been very offended by what he had to say. So I'm not talking about that group right now, although their responses were really fascinating to see. And I certainly am going to encourage you all to join me in praying for all of the false converts and lost people that heard the gospel in his message. I'm not detracting from that. I listened to it multiple times. Like I mentioned, I did hear a biblically sound gospel message. The whole message that he gave was not biblically sound. If he's a genuinely new believer now and he thinks that he's been a believer for a long period of time, people do that. They do have that sort of like epiphany where like a few years down the road, they'll be like, you know what? I don't know if I really was saved 15 years ago. Maybe I did just get saved a couple of years ago. I've heard that from people before. And so I don't know Todd White's heart. So I'm not here to really put out an opinion about whether or not he's saved. I do stand on the camp of I'm praying for him. I'm praying for everybody that heard that message. It was a gospel message. I think Justin Peters is the one that I heard say that he's heard better gospel messages presented by Benny Hinn than some actual like biblically sound preachers. So I'm encouraged that the gospel was presented. I'm not necessarily on the camp of people saying we need to just believe it until we see fruit otherwise. I'm going to be very watchful of the things that he has to say from here. Hopefully somebody that is godly is going to come up behind him and help him into the direction of biblical truth. And hopefully that person will continue to share the truth of the gospel with Todd White. I'm mostly just wanting to comment on the responses from the two sides. I have absolutely no idea what the statistics are on this one, but a portion of people believed him that he was definitely saved and that he was presenting the gospel as a new believer. A portion of the people believed that he's probably a false convert, and we really just don't know yet until we see more fruit. And I heard some great arguments on both sides of that. I heard wonderful arguments from both sides. I think the problem that I always have is whenever people get on Howdy, Gregory. Hi, it's nice to see you in the comments. I think the problem that we have on social media is that we are double-sided in this, in that we want to put our opinions out there and we don't want to be disagreed with. But when somebody else puts their opinions out there, we want to go and disagree with them. And so I feel like these are all great things where we can do this on social media, where if I put an opinion out there and I say something about Todd White and somebody comes to me and they disagree, it's something that I should expect. People are going to disagree with you no matter what you're talking about. Somebody is going to disagree with you. The point that I want to get across is that we need to be disagreeing with one another agreeably. We need to be kind in our disagreements. And if you're actually not somebody that is comfortable with conflict, it might be a good idea if you don't really put your opinion out on social media very often, because if you know that you're going to sin and stumble the next time somebody disagrees with you, then it would be better to avoid that altogether until you come to the point where somebody can disagree with you and you won't sin in response. So hopefully that makes sense. So I was very encouraged by some of the responses that I saw. I saw a lot of love. I saw a lot of prayer. I saw a lot of people disagreeing with one another, but not disagreeing with one another in a hateful way. But there was still that same very discouraging response that we see even from Reformed camps, where people are very quick and ready to be hitting that caps button on social media and responding angrily. And this is why, regardless of the situation, if somebody is disagreeing with me, the first thing I always do is say, can we talk privately? Can you message me? Can you direct message me? Can you email me? Can we discuss this together without it being in the public eye? Not because I have anything to hide, but because of the fact that it alleviates the temptation for sin. If you remove yourself from that situation altogether, nobody's pride is going to be hurt if you remove that from the whole situation. So I would actually really love to hear you guys' opinions about that in the comment sections below. What did you guys see? What were you encouraged by? Were you surprised by this? Is it something that was different to you guys than what you had expected whenever you clicked the link? I would really like to hear about that. I was personally very taken aback by the not just the quoting and the reading of Ray Comfort, quoting Charles Spurgeon. He mentioned George Whitefield, but I was taken aback by his insistence on the sin of man and the deadness of man. So when I was a false convert and I was in the Word of Faith movement, you didn't say that men were dead in their sins. No, because we chose God, right? So you can't choose God if you're dead in your sins. And so there was some stuff in there that I was very surprised in a great way to hear. Obviously, if you listen through the whole thing, the whole message, there was also some stuff in there about like miraculous things happening. So I was encouraged and discouraged both sides. I saw some stuff that I liked. I saw some stuff that I didn't like. I'm definitely going to continue to be praying for him. But the best thing I have seen about all of this is that all of those people that are false converts, just like I was for over a decade, that were believing in the false prosperity gospel, they heard the true gospel that day. And there's still people watching it, and they're hearing the gospel presented. So I'm encouraged by that. I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful that God is allowing people. None of us deserve that. Every single one of us deserve hell. We do not deserve salvation. We don't deserve forgiveness. We don't even deserve to hear the fact that there is an opportunity for a man to be reconciled to God. So the fact that God would be gracious enough in this point in time, when people are home, when people are discouraged, when people are fearful, and God allowed this message to go out to a group of people that you have to understand, they've been hearing for months now that, Kenneth Copeland got rid of COVID. This group of people just heard the true gospel and heard a man say that you don't come to Christ for the good things he can do for you. That's in this context, this time frame, this time period that we're living in right now, where people in the Word of Faith movement are basically seeing their theology not work in a large scale, right? So most people in that movement eventually in their lifetimes will see their theology not work. They're going to get sick. Somebody they love is going to get sick. And that is a blessing from God whenever he uses those points to pull people out of that false theology. But right now the Word of Faith is getting kicked in the can here with COVID, that no matter how many times they rebuke it, it's not going away. And so this is a blessing from God that the gospel was sent out to these people right at a time whenever there's probably already some doubt there about the way that they're viewing God and salvation. So I was really encouraged by that. I hope you guys were too. I'm going to switch over here now to the next topic that I was going to talk to you guys about. If I'm not seeing your comments over on Facebook, I am so sorry. It's sort of lagging behind over there on the Facebook group, but I can see you guys on my Facebook page. Let's see here. I wanted to talk to you guys next about John MacArthur, but I'm super thirsty because I'm still very, very sick. So you guys can look at the squirrel. Squirrel! I don't want to have to pay Dr. Pepper any money for having shown people their product. They should probably pay me, I think, since I'm constantly having their product on hand. I don't know how that works. But anyways, there's still no Diet Dr. Pepper Cherry here in our town. It's a big problem. It's been months. But one time it was delivered. Guys, there is a Dr. Pepper factory in our city. What? There's no reason. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I heard you say you're super thirsty on the red list.
Oh my goodness, that's so sweet. Thank you. You're the best. And she brought me a Dr. Pepper. A Diet Dr. Pepper. Okay, sorry. I want to talk to you guys about JMac being in the news. Okay, this is another point. And I'm just going to keep beating this drum, I guess, until the day that I die, because it just keeps happening on social media over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And I think whenever you are originally a new believer, you know, I was just talking to a sister about this in Christ, when you become a new believer and you think that you're now going to be around all of these older Christians that are going to be behaving really, really well, right? So that's the expectation, because you are entering into a different situation where the expectation is that it's going to be perfect now, right? As a new believer, I really thought that the brothers and sisters in Christ that I knew were like the bee's knees. They were perfect and wonderful, and I was just going to do whatever it took to, be a blessing to them the way they were a blessing to me. And so the first time that I was aware of a believer, hopefully a believer, being sinful in their behavior, it was very surprising to me. Obviously, now I understand that you can be in the faith for years and you can still sin, because that's how this works, and we're still fighting the flesh, and it's not an excuse to sin, but it is just the fact that we can be gracious to one another when one another slips into sin. So I just say that to make the point that what I'm seeing on social media and the behavior that I'm seeing on social media is discouraging, it's sinful, but it is a point for me to be able to say, hey, this isn't the way that we're supposed to behave. We're supposed to behave differently. And if you were unkind to me, I can be gracious to you. So to put it on the other side, to flip it around for our perspective, like let's say that you posted about John MacArthur and you loved the fact that he's doing what he's doing. We're going to get into the details in a second, but he's doing what he's doing. You love that. Let's just say hypothetically you love that. If you don't, that's okay. In your own mind, switch my words around, okay? It's okay. Hypothetically, you love that. You post about it online. You absolutely love that. And somebody immediately under the comments online is incredibly rude to you. That can be very discouraging, especially if you're a newer believer. But this is actually for your purpose, for your sake on social media, an opportunity for you to be gracious and for you to not further sin in your behavior. And so there's opportunities here for both sides. But what I want to address is the side that's being super ugly and not very nice to people. That shouldn't be the way that we behave on social media. I know that that's not the way that you would talk to people if you were standing in front of them. It's easier to talk to people in a way that's sort of snarky or rude or disrespectful, because you don't have to see their face. You don't have to see whether or not it's hurt them, whether or not it was discouraging to them. You just drop your comment and you go about your day. But I want to continue to discourage that kind of behavior and to really encourage us all to be responsible on social media, because I feel like this is a message that is going to just continue to have to be told as we grow with social media, as our technology continues to grow, as we're able to reach out in different platforms. I have a Parler now. That's a whole really cool new thing. There's so many different platforms that we can use to glorify God. That needs to be our goal. That is why we're here. We exist on this earth to glorify God and to make him known to man. So I just wanted to mention that before we talk about what happened with John MacArthur. I'm sure you guys have all heard, because it was everywhere, just like the Todd White thing, that he decided to open up church service. And John MacArthur's church is not small by any means. It's quite a large church. And so there's thousands of people, and I think there's multiple, I believe, if I'm correct, I might be wrong, but I think there's multiple services. And so I know California has been a lot stricter about different laws. And recently, with like new cases of COVID happening, there have been governors putting in new laws that weren't there before. Governors like turning back around and changing the laws up that they had just switched back. So I know it's kind of a confusing time here in America. If you're from a different country, it might not be that way. Each of our states is going to be doing something differently here in America, because we have 50 states that are united in the United States, but each state has a governor, and that governor gets to decide things. And then each county has a sheriff, and that sheriff sheriff's not making laws or anything, but the sheriff gets to be in control of that county. And so there are checks and balances in place in that way. So it can be kind of confusing if you're in a state where the churches have already opened back up because you didn't have a very bad outbreak, and you're hearing about the way things are happening in other cities or other states. It might be kind of confusing. So I just wanted to put that out there really quickly, that's why there's such a great amount of confusion. Coming from the city that we're in right now, there was only like a couple of hundred cases. And then all of a sudden there was not large, but there were more cases in a day than there had been for the whole time frame. So this little city isn't getting thousands or tens of thousands of cases. The way that they handled it was probably a lot different than the way that they're going to handle it in a city like Seattle or New York City. And so that's kind of like a little bit of context for what's happening. I am unsure of the population size of John MacArthur's church, but he did decide to open his services, and I'm so sorry. That is in fact a rubber chicken toy that my dog has right now. I'm going to give you the squirrel, and I'm going to go chase her, and then I'm going to be right back. Wow. Okay, sorry about that. Never ever buy your dogs one of these. Just never ever do it. Okay, I don't know what we were thinking. Oh, you can't see it. It's green. That's funny. It's a green rubber chicken, and it makes a horrible sound. It sounds like it's dying, and she loves it. It's her favorite toy, and we constantly have to hide it from her because it's so loud and very, 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 very obnoxious whenever you're trying to sleep at 3 a.m. So we have to hide it from her, and then she'll find it and then bring it. And it's really kind of cute and sad because she grooms it. She loves this toy so much. But the sound, there's only so much that she figured out ways to like make the sound happen really quickly. Like she'll step on it, but just slightly so that it's like, but she only does it when we're talking. So if we're having a conversation as a family, here she comes with her chicken. So don't buy those. Don't buy them. Nope. Unless you don't like somebody. If you really want to punish somebody, this would be a great way to punish them, is to buy them one of these horrible, terrible chicken things. So anyways, we were talking about John MacArthur. Like I said, he decided to open up his church, despite the fact that there was some laws in place by the governor, I believe, if I'm correct, stating that certain amounts of people shouldn't open after a certain like capacity, I think. And so, see, that's why it's so confusing, because every state has something different. And anyways, he decided to open, and he held a service. Just irregardless of how you feel about whether or not he should have done that, whether or not this is something, every single person in that church is an adult. Like, I mean, besides the adults that brought their children, these are grown adults making grown adult decisions. So for me personally, that's between MacArthur and his sheep. He's the shepherd. I don't really have a aggressive opinion one way or the other on this. Obviously, when it happened, I was still nearly dead to the world because I had COVID. My husband's a respiratory therapist, so he definitely would have liked to have seen some masks and a little bit of social distancing in that church. But other than that, I really don't have just like with the Todd White thing, I feel like there are some great arguments on both sides of this discussion. But what was discouraging to me was to see the anger and the hate. And it's always discouraging to see a governor or a government trying to enforce church close downs and stuff like that. And so there was a threat that things were going to get like shut down, that lights were going to get turned off, that and the coffee shop did get shut off. But luckily, that's not really the reason why we go to church, is it? We don't actually have to have a coffee shop to go to church. I thought that was kind of strange. Yeah, very weird. But anyways, I just wanted to point out the fact that there can be a lot of opportunities for us to be gracious and kind to one another on social media. When these kind of controversial things happen, that's an opportunity for us to be loving on social media, whether we agree or disagree with one another. So that's just something that I really wanted to encourage you guys all on about the Todd White thing and about the JMac thing. Whether or not you're glad or discouraged or whatever it is, if you agree or disagree, we can do that lovingly. We can do that with grace. And if we can't, we just shouldn't get on social media to argue with people, because there's no reason for you to purposefully allow yourself to continue to sin if you can avoid it. So some subjects, if I feel really passionately about, honestly, I don't interact about them, because I'm not going to allow myself the temptation to sin against another believer by being unkind or having a fruitless conversation. So hopefully that is something that you guys will be encouraged about. Now, there's a couple of other things that I want to talk about before I give you a sneak peek, but there is a sneak peek today. I realize that it's been a couple of Fridays where there was no sneak peek of the coming episode. There hasn't been a coming episode, so that might have something to do with it. But this time, I did record an episode. If you guys were watching on Wednesday, I went live just randomly, and it was late too. It was like 8:30 here. But I just was down here, and I had just finished recording with the Church History Matters podcast. And so I went ahead and went live and was talking a little bit about Monday's episode. I'm so excited about this episode that half of it is probably the fact that I haven't gotten to record in so long because we've been so sick. But the other half is just that this is one of my favorite subjects. I love church history. Church history is just a great subject. So stay with me for that. That's going to be at the very end of this mega list. I will play that. And I don't know why I'm pointing down there, because that's where the button is for me to click to put on the sneak peek. But you guys can't see that button, so I'm sorry. But stay here for that. That's coming up. I have a couple of pictures I wanted to show you guys really quickly. And yeah, you guys will see. You'll see why. Can you guys all read that? Maybe I should read it to you just in case. This disturbing picture is of an Italian-American immigrant being held still and forced to watch in horror as pineapple is added to a pizza for the first time, 1914, Brooklyn, New York. And just to further the joy and the laughter, this is Governor Cuomo's orders from Babylon Bee. And somebody sent this to me. Actually, I thought this was really hilarious. And my husband sent me the first one that I showed you guys. I just thought that was really funny. I love this. This is... You guys have been sending me so much pineapple stuff. And it's... I really honestly, when John MacArthur said, no to pineapple pizza, I thought the debate was over. It doesn't really get much more, authoritative than like Mr. Papa John's himself. He said no. And then John MacArthur said no. Justin Peters said no. Phil Johnson said no. So apparently that's not enough. And we're going to have to continue this battle so that we can create unity in the church by getting rid of the people who approve of pineapple on pizza. Like Patrick from Cave to the Cross. Apologetics. Guys, I really am working on the shirts for this. I promise there will be shirts for this. It's been such a fun thing that we've done pretty much since the beginning of this podcast. So I am going to work on that. That's going to be something that I roll out really soon. I'm considering, out of the kindness of my heart, allowing there to be both sides of the argument available in shirts and cups and stuff like that. I don't know. I mean, really, it would just be for Patrick, because I think he's the only person left in the world that eats pineapples on their pizza. I think. Probably. If you do eat pineapple on your pizza, let me know in the comments so that I can pray for you, okay? And just guys remember that Ray Comfort told me that he was praying for me because I don't like pineapples on my pizza. So it goes both ways. I do understand. You don't have to keep sending me emails reminding me about that moment. I remember. But didn't Costi Hinn say no to it? I think he did. I can't remember now. I'll have to go back and watch. But I made sure to ask the guys at Church History Matters podcast. I asked them this question. I haven't been asking the guests this because I really did think that it was like a done deal. And you guys definitely let me know that it is not over. It's not done. So much stuff has been posted. I've been tagged in so much pineapple pizza stuff that I was like, we're just going to keep rolling with this. This is going to be like a permanent fixture of the Tulips and Honey podcast. So anyways, I do have some really exciting interviews coming up that are going to be dropped. And I wanted to give you guys a quick update about the podcast before I let you all go to watch the sneak peek of the Church History Matters, guys. So don't forget, that is coming up. That's going to be happening as soon as I'm done talking to you live right now. But anyways, so one of the exciting things that is coming up is actually back in May, I believe, I did an interview with Allie Beth Stuckey, and I wasn't able to publish that interview until her book was live. So because her book was pushed back a little bit, I had to hold back on that interview, but I have that and it's coming up, and I'm really excited because her book is about to be published, which means I can publish this interview that I did with her. And it was a wonderful conversation. She's a very, very sweet sister in Christ. And so that's coming up. I am going to get to chat with the Polite Leader. If you guys aren't already subscribing to him on YouTube, he has a great channel where he is exposing false teachers, and the way that he goes about it is unique, and I really appreciate the research that he does. And so there's a few people who will sort of list the guys, maybe list some well-known things about them, but that's not really what he's doing. And so I really appreciate that about his podcast, about his YouTube channel. And I'm going to get a chance to talk to him about his recent top 10 Word of Faith teachers, and also about what's going on his program. And obviously I'm going to ask him about pineapple pizza. I don't think I asked Allie about pineapple pizza, so that's probably going to be an interview that I don't have that on. Sorry, I can't remember exactly, but I'm subscribed. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that, Greg. Have you been blessed by his channel? I really like it. I remember hearing about him like a year ago, and I didn't get a chance to really get to watch a lot of his content until recently. And so when I was watching his content, I posted something on Instagram, and he messaged me and was like, "Thank you so much for posting this." And I was like, well, that's really nice that he took the time to send that. And so a little while later, I messaged him and asked him about, joining me on the program. And of course he was kind enough and gracious enough to agree to join me on the program. So that's going to be coming up. I'm really excited. I'm going to be talking to him on the 7th of August. The Allie Beth Stuckey interview is going to be dropping, I believe, the 11th or the 13th. I'll get back with you guys on that for sure. But this Monday is Church History Matters. I'm really excited about that podcast, guys. They were really fun, really, really down to earth. They're not like doctorates in history, so there's no like dryness to their conversation. They're just very passionate believers. They're passionate about church history. They love learning about these guys, and they talk about it in such an unbiased way that I really appreciate that, because I think that we have a tendency, especially if we're talking about like Charles Spurgeon, it would be very difficult for me to be not like unbiased about Charles Spurgeon, right? It's the Prince of Preachers. But he actually did suffer from depression, and even Ray Rhodes. Oh, hi, Pastor. How are you? How are you doing? Wait, Edwin. That's not Pastor. Pastor's name is Edward. Hi, Edwin. How are you? Sorry. I don't need glasses yet. Maybe not. Hopefully not. I don't know. Sorry. I made the letters as big as I possibly could without it taking up too much of the screen. Anyways, that was a squirrel. I'm so sorry. It gives me a chance to do this. Squirrel! It's a squirrel! Oh my goodness. Let's keep going. Guys, I don't remember what I was talking about. Oh, I was talking about church history. Okay. Oh man. This virus it's kicking my butt. So I appreciate still more prayers for my brain and my lack of ability to think straight right now. Having COVID wasn't fun, so don't have COVID if you can help it. It's still not fun. Anyways, I think we were talking about church history and how great it is to have an unbiased opinion. Oh, Charles Spurgeon and his depression. That's what we were talking about. So Ray Rhodes, whenever I interviewed him at the very beginning of podcasting, if you don't know, Ray Rhodes wrote the book The Life and Legacy of Susie Spurgeon. Great book. Definitely recommend that if you have a wife at all. You should definitely you should have that book for your wife. If you have a pastor's wife, that is a great gift for a pastor's wife. Great gift for any wife. Wonderful, wonderful book. Absolutely love it. I mean, if you're a man, you can read it too. I'm just like, from a woman's perspective, I loved that book. So I had him on the program, and he explained to me that Spurgeon was so depressed that there were times whenever he actually considered self-harm. And so we see Spurgeon as this great man of God, that he was, the prince of preachers. He was strong in the face of the downgrade controversy, and strong in the face of his wife being in so much pain and being so sick, and him being sick himself. And so we tend to look at these guys in a biased way, but the truth is that they're just as human as we are. And so it can be very encouraging if you suffered from depression to learn that Charles Spurgeon also suffered from depression. So I appreciate the church history guys, the Church History Matters podcast. They really do a good job of giving you a truthful look at these people in history. And so I really enjoyed having them on the program, and you guys are about to get a sneak peek. Gregory, you are right. I need to definitely rest and relax. And yes, bipolar is, that is the post-mortem. Is that the right word? Like they diagnosed him with bipolar disorder after he died. So yeah, and Susie, in the book, The Life and Legacy of Susie Spurgeon, she would, back in a time whenever having things printed was kind of a big deal, she would have scriptures printed and put all over the place so that whenever he woke up and he was feeling down or feeling bad or whatever it was, that he would have those verses all over the house for him to look at. And so I love their story of the fact that here's two people that we tend to look back in history at in a sort of over-the-top glorified way. We see the actual truth of their hearts, and their love for one another was rooted in the fact that they were two sinners saved by grace and just trying to bring glory to God any way they can. So I love hearing stories like theirs in a non-biased way. So that's what they do over at the Church History Matters. That's really all I have for you guys today. I'm going to play that sneak peek. As soon as I get those t-shirts ready, you guys will be the first people to know about it because you guys are the ones watching. So hopefully by next Friday, there will be some pineapple shirts for the program. And God bless you all. If you haven't already joined our group over on Facebook, Tulips and Honey Hub group, it's a wonderful place for you guys to join where you can fellowship with each other. You can have prayer requests given there. You can ask questions without the fear of being like mauled by people who don't handle questions very well. So yeah, anyways, that's the thing. Join us over on the group. God bless you all. I'll see you all on Monday. Bye, Humblebees.
Specifically starting with Stephen's martyrdom. Stephen, who was in the act of his becoming a martyr of the Christian church, he's retelling all of the history of the Hebrews. He's giving them a history lesson. This is exactly where you come from. This is where we are right now. And that's just, that automatically should tell us why history is important in general. It's a part of God's story that he is working out through his providence and his powerful preserving of his people. So
that was alliterated like a Baptist.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
Very impressive.
You didn't even do it on purpose.
I didn't. I have the catechism on my mind. That's why.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
And the second is it goes. It's just a history that you see from all of the apostles carried on down to Polycarp, who was one of the last disciples of the apostles that we see, who's also martyred. And one of the things I had written down and copied as a note was that all he had to do is he was an older man, he was 86 years old, and he had been a bishop of Smyrna for a long time. And when they came to him, they finally arrested him, and they said, "Look, all you've got to do is say Caesar is Lord," which is what Kaiser et Curios.
Yep.
And that's it. And just a pinch of incense. That's all it takes. And that's nothing more. But of course, he refused. He stood and faithful to his king. He said, 86 years I have served Christ, and he never did me any wrong. How can I blaspheme my king who has saved me? And when you look at that history of, this is what we have as our heritage. This is a heritage of every single believer. We have this king who has saved us from the most, I can't even imagine or think of a word that's strong enough to describe the wrath of God that's to be poured out on sinners, right? And that's what we're saved from.
Right.
And so why would we blaspheme him? To echo John MacArthur, right? We must obey God rather than men.
Oh,
Which
yeah,
is just
absolutely.
quoting Daniel.